Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you for participating in the Functional Devices new product release webinar for the first quarter of 2022. My name is Dave Cyphers and I will be your host for the day. A couple of things I'd like to mention as we move through the presentation. Please feel free to drop questions into the chat where we will hold those questions to the end and answer them at one time. Today, we'd like to cover the following. We'll talk a little bit about functional devices and RIB. We definitely want to go through the prepackaged DIN rail RIB no socket relays. We've got a couple of current sensor switches we want to talk about. We've got a PSH 100 DC power supply series we want to talk about, and we also want to conclude with a pulse DIN rail 24 volt DC power supply. Over the years, we've expanded our product lines to serve a broad range of industries, including, most of you know, is building automation, HVAC, lighting, electrical, panel shops, fire and safety, wireless, and power monitoring. Most folks know us best know us as RIB Relay. Relay in a box is what we're known for. We're the original relay in a box. And things that we do very well and feel good about is every unit is tested before it ever leaves our production floor. Our quality, they have to come to expect, customers expect that out of us. We deliver it. We have ease of installation, product performance, and durability, and we have confidence in every box. As I mentioned before, we stress this quite often. We test every single product that leaves our manufacturing floor to ensure quality standards are met, if not exceeded. And in every box, a customer has confidence and peace of mind in every box. First, we'd like to discuss prepackaged DIN rail relays, no socket. As most folks know, we have a series out there right now that have removable relays in it. This particular one we come out with is a non-removable relay. We call it the no socket, and as you'll go through, you'll see a dash NS on the model name indicating that. We believe that we've got everything enclosed now. It gives you the same great quality we've offered in enclosed relays for years. The new series is great value and perfect choice for your panel design projects. You look down at the product features there, as we've been known before, it's prepackaged for your convenience. These models are 10 amp contact rating. They do give you the 10 to 30 volt or 24 volt AC DC coil voltage. They're transit protected. Models available in override switch, and we have the current sensor models with the fixed or adjustable threshold. These parts are UL 916 listed. Benefits that we see out of it is they're suitable for a wide variety of panel applications. That was what they were designed for. They're slim, they're trim, and they're compact. And again, they carry the multi-voltage. That way, in case you need something other than 24 volt, you've got something there to 10 to 30 to cover it. These products are very price competitive in the marketplace, we believe, and should stand up to competitors' pricing all the way around. Excuse me. Here you can see the DIN rail mount no socket relay, the specs on it. The first two, the RIB RL1C and the L1S, both of those are single pole double throw. They do carry the 10 to 30 volt AC DC. And then if you look down at the next two models, the RIB R24D and the 24 SD, they are double pole double throw. All four of these are 10 amp at 277 volt. And again, the coil voltage on these two are 24 volt. If you step down one step further, you start to see that we've got them also with current sensors involved in them, included. The relays themselves are single pole, single throw. Again, they're 10 amp at 277. And the sensing range is from a quarter amp to 10 amp. And then you have the two models of fixed, or you have the adjustable. The next item we'd like to talk about is our current sensor switch. This is new to our series. It's a normally closed current sensor. Basically, if you look at most of the current sensors out there, probably 98% of those are probably normally open at all times. There are applications where normally closed contact is needed, so we decided we better get in the ball game and create a normally closed contact for our customers out there. As you can see, it basically is a solid state, single pole, single throw output. It's normally closed, as I mentioned. There's a fixed threshold at 0.35, and then the factory setting at the adjustable is at 0.75, all the way up to 150 amp. Can be increased if required for the same application. Sensing application, excuse me. I'm not for sure what application you'd be using them for, but we do allow that adjustable to be there for you. They're self-powered. Split core makes it easy to install. We mentioned the fixed and adjustable again. Both models can handle the 30 volt AC DC, and they are 10th amp on the normally closed contact output. Very important, made in the USA. We stress that very hard here at Functional Devices. We're very proud of that. You can use it as a standard status. So you look up over on the right-hand side, you can see there, it's just basically what it's doing is monitoring that fan. Of course, it's coming back as they're normally closed, but in today's controllers, they can actually handle that, and they know how to set that for their design. Looking at a little bit of an application for a normally closed current sensor, if you look in the middle here, you'll see we've got a rib dry contact relay. Basically, you've got a coil there of 120 volt. You've got two dry contact wires down below, the white red, white blue. And over on the right-hand side, you have a set of contacts. If you think about when you power a relay up, you're powering the coil up, so local power at the 120 volt on the left-hand side is going to be active. At the same time, you're going to have local power over on the right-hand side, which you can see is at a normally or at an open state on the contact. In order to close that, once we connect a normally closed current sensor to the dry contact input, now you have a loop to create the actual activation of the contact to allow load one or the low speed fan to start running. That is a continuous fan in this application. What we did was we started looking at, okay, how if you had a low speed fan running and you needed to kick a high speed fan into action and turn the low speed off, how would you do that? So we actually put our normally closed current sensor in there, because once load 2 starts to ramp up, it reads the amperage off of the current sensor. It will automatically open that loop that is now closed or has been closed to activate load 1 and make the normally open contacts up there open again. This is just one application it can be used for. If you look down below, you'll see our sensing range at 0.35 on the fixed and 0.175 to 150. Again, these are split cores for sure. And if you look across there, you'll see switching voltage at 30 amp and maximum switching current is at 0.1. The second current sensor switch that we'd like to talk about is what we call an ECM 30 volt AC DC at 1 amp. Basically, on this split core, what we're doing is looking at the maximum switching current at 1 amp for the simple reason of you may have to turn on a second device somehow. And for the smaller ones, like the earlier one we talked about at 0.1, there's not enough amp coverage there, so you have to have a lot more amperage to be protected there. So from that standpoint, what we did was we created this 30 volt AC DC with a 1 amp output protection. These are fixed and adjustable. Both of them are fixed. It can be fixed or adjustable. They definitely have the LEDs on the adjustable so you can identify the quick status information. On benefits, you start looking at size at 2, 2.52, and 1.110. That's our standard split core size. What we found is they're very easily accessible to get into a panel with, so it makes things a lot easier for the fits inside the enclosure. One thing we do offer is our slide opening versus a competitor's hinged opening. As you'll see, it makes things so much easier when you loop around that wire, you slip it up and it's closed. You don't have to have a lot of space there to get around. And then monitor a wire up to 1/2 inch. Again, this is made in the USA. We're very proud of that. Here's an example of our RIB-XG-N series. And again, this is we call it the N series, due to the fact that we named it with that in accordance with the 1 amp output protection. And here you can see in this application, it basically is just a straight ECM motor. We're monitoring the load to see if it's on or off and feeding it back to the controller. I have a note over there at the side that talks about the series in our previous, we've released a previous model of this. It's an RIB-XGTA-ECM. With that one, we can get down to 1/4 amp at the threshold. These two models here, matter of fact, they're at 0.35 up to 150 or 0.75 on the adjustable all the way up to 150. We talked about power supplies earlier there in the agenda. What we are very well known for is our PSH models. In particular, this one here is a PSH 100, PSH 100, 100 AB10, I believe it is, and they're DC power. That's the difference from our standard of what we always have had. Here you can see the two models. They look very, very familiar if you're familiar with our scope of our enclosed power supply. But here you'll notice we've got the input power of 120 and the output power, of course, is 24 volt DC, and we're at 2.5 amps. So we've got a lot more amp protection out there on these two particular models here. We have output over current protection. These two are class 2 DC power supplies. That's very critical because there's a lot of times you have to, it does state in the spec that you have to have class 2, so we definitely have the right product for you. There's isolation, circuit breaker, and status LEDs, and they definitely have a high-low voltage separation. And they have an on and off switch for convenience receptacles. There's actually on the PSH 100 AB10-DC, there's one on the bottom side of that. So you have two on that particular model. They're definitely highly efficient when using DC power. That seems like more and more we're heading that way. So we definitely wanted to create these two models to bring it into the market. Enclosed high voltage located in one location within the panel. That way you've got it coming in, you've got your high-low separation in there, and then everything out throughout the panel could be all at low or class 2 power. These are UL 5085-3 and UL 508 certified. We do carry a 5-year warranty and definitely made in the USA here in Indiana. Just a quick example of where you could use these or where they are typically used. We see them used most of the time. Basically in a panel, usually they're located at the top with your relays and controllers and so forth mounted below that. So you kind of get an idea of how they fit in. This particular panel you're looking at in the middle, this enclosure, that's one of ours. But you can see how it sets up in there and allows the ease of filling that whole enclosure up with parts that you need in there. Again, I mentioned the class 2 certification for the high-low separation. That's very critical in many applications, so we want to make sure you're aware of that. Down below, if you look down below in the table, you'll see down below that we basically have the two models, and we got a third model on the way. We'll tell you that up front. But these two models both are at 2.5 amp. The next thing we'd like to cover would be our Pulse DIN-Rail 24 volt DC power supplies. Basically what we did was we wanted to figure a way out to complete offerings to everyone. And with us with the industry going and moving to 24-volt DC and smaller power supplies, we needed to get a grip on that. So we made a decision to partner with a company called Pulse. They actually build these power supplies, and it gives you the opportunity to power your controller, sensor needs with 24-volt at any time of the day. Here you can kind of see at a glimpse of what they look like. There's different widths, there's different wattages, and things are very critical. So when you start looking at, if you're putting field controllers in a panel, what you might be looking at is how many watts do I need to feed all 4 panels or controllers, or if I've got 2 going in, I don't need quite the same size as the 4. So basically these support 100 through 240 volt, and they are auto selected. On the outputs, you've got the watts of 15, 36, 60, 90, 120, and 240. You do have a DC OK relay contact in there. What that does is gives you status back to your controller so you can actually know that the DC power is on. They actually, it synchronizes with the LED, making sure everything's matched up in sync with one another. These are listed as UL 508 and also moving into the UL 610, 610-2-201. They are Class 2 compliant on some models aren't. So that would be for your application, that'd definitely be something you'd want to look at. And they're cost optimized without compromising quality. These are very well built. We kind of chose them for that reason. We like to consider our quality of all of our products, and so combining with these guys, we felt like it was very good. They're very reliable with efficiency up to 93.8%. There's one model I know of out there at 95%, so a little bit better. There's panel space saver for sure. They're easy to wire. They come with a 5-year warranty. And as I mentioned earlier, this is making FDI your one-stop shop for many of your panel requirements. Simple to install, easy to wire, great for those low voltage projects when those 24-volt DC is needed. As you can see, typically you'll see these sometimes mounted in the bottom of a panel. The reason for that is a lot of times the voltage coming in, the high voltage coming in is on the bottom. So you'd have your DIN rail mounted in there. You'd have your power supplies mounted. Above that, you may have your series of DIN rail ribs up there. And then, of course, you got your controller or field controllers setting in there also. If you look at the spot at the side there to the right, talks about the front side and user elements. Down below is where your A is where your input comes in for your neutral and hot. You go up to B, that's your output terminals. You've got two positive, 2 negative up there. You look at C, that's your DC OK LED light I mentioned. That's your quick indicator light. When you look at D, then you've got an adjustable there for 24 volt up to 28 volt. And then E is your DC OK relay contact. I mentioned that earlier. That basically allows you to wire out from that location back to your controller to identify and know that DC power is on. Here's the models that we're actually carrying. We've got 9 models out there. Again, they're simple to install and easy to wire, as we mentioned up above there. You can see probably the most critical item out of this whole table would be your power output. So at 15 watts, 120, 240 as they go down through there. That's very critical because of what your needs are in your application. It can vary, and then things can be looked at as expense. It can be expensive if you buy one too much or buy one less. So want to make sure you hone in on that just a little bit and realize that that wattage output is very, very critical. Again, these are all DC 24 volt The inputs, you can see they vary a little bit, and the dimensions are very small. You know, and you can see over to the right-hand side, special features. A couple of them's got the DC OK relay contact, and the others don't. Then I've got a couple there. It's push in terminals. You got one down below. It's large screw terminals. So it varies on how those features are on these. What you'll find when you log into our website, you'll be able to go out and actually grab out the data sheet for these pulse mount relays, the installation guide, the applications guide. That way you'll have everything you need to actually be active and running with this. You always want to remember, I know most folks out there know, but our outstanding products, our other products that we have here, everybody knows the relay out there, but we also have our intelligent field devices, especially peripheral devices, power control, UPS devices, power monitoring. We stepped into that world some time ago, and we are wireless. We've been wireless for quite some time. Of course, transformers, metal enclosures, lighting controls, and energy saving devices. As you log into our website, you start looking for data sheets and you can actually look at the webinars, such as this one. It will be on our link. You'll be able to get any downloads you need of any of our product loads out there. So we want to make sure that you have all that. Here's our inside sales and customer service group. They do a fantastic job. They will be the face of functional devices when you call into the plant. We will speak with one of these gals and guys here, but you're definitely going to find out your price and availability, returns, and so forth through these folks. This is our outside sales staff. We've got Rick up in the Northeast. We got Kale, he's the outside sales director. We got Matt over there as a Southern Regional. And then we've got Matt Orr as he handles our lighting rep manufacturers, and Nick handles our electrical distributors and sales managers. You note on the side there, we've mentioned about hiring. We're now hiring. We're looking for a regional sales manager. We're also looking for a national account manager and business development sales manager. So if you know some folks out there who are interested, have them go to our website, look at it, and give us a resume in. For engineering and tech support, we always like to talk about these guys because they are the brains of our products for sure. And ideally what they do is they actually design the product, and then we actually have Sam up there. He's our tech support guy. And the other three guys are actually filling in for Sam when he's off. So you definitely are getting a design engineer when you talk to somebody in tech support. They do a fantastic job over there, and we're just thankful they're there. Always keep in mind where you can find all of our locations on social media. We want to make sure everybody realizes we're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, of course, YouTube, and Instagram. And we are at the question point. Hannah, I believe you're out there. Do we have any questions?
We do, Dave. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yep. So we have a question from Paul, and I believe this is referring to one of the slides that you had on those Pulse DC supplies. They're asking a specific question about the item E. Is that a feedback connector?
Yes, that is a feedback connector. That's exactly what it is. It allows you to know from the control standpoint that your DC power is active.
Hope that answers your question, Paul. If you have anything further on that, just go ahead and feel free to put it in the chat. Dave, we have yep, that answers your question. Great.
Thank you,
We have
Paul.
another. Thank you for the great question. We have another question. Do you have a module for switching between lead standby DC power supplies?
Repeat that again, please.
Yeah, do you have a module for switching between lead standby DC power supplies?
I'm going to have to say I'm not aware of one. We can look that up, and if you get a hold of make sure you got the contact information, we'll get back with the gentleman. Still there?
Yes. Just,
okay.
Like switching.
There was something added to that same question, which was like switching between two power supplies if one is faulty. Does that help?
I'm not, yeah, well, I'm not aware of that, a piece for that, but let us definitely look into that. We'll get them that information back. I'm not aware of it by no means, but not saying we don't have, but I don't believe we do. But again, let us look into that.
Okay, great. We'll make sure that, Hashim, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but if you want to, hopefully we have your email address. If not, could you stick it in this chat here and we'll get you an answer to your question. Dave, another question on the DIN relay, specifically the RL1C with
Mhm.
status. So I guess that would be the RL1S. What is the horsepower rating on the contacts 10 amp at 277 volts?
Let me see if I can find it real quick. On the 1S, there's the 1C. Well, I will tell you what I can do. Let me flip back here in the slides real quick and we'll see.
Send out this presentation.
Let's go back to it here. Here we go. On a motor, it's a 3rd horsepower at 120 to 240 volts. Can you see it there?
Does that answer your question, Kevin? There's another question here in general. Yep, that answered the question. He said, thank you. Oh, he's always also curious about the current sensor version with the fixed threshold. I'm guessing
No.
he would like the motor rating on that.
For this particular model,
It's the DIN relay with the current sensor, the fixed threshold version.
DIN relay with, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I was already there. Sorry about that, guys. Okay.
Yep.
And with the fixed, you say?
Yes.
The threshold on it, is that what they're looking for?
Let's see.
Since it senses from a 1/4 amp to 10 amp is what it
I'm
does.
thinking he is asking what the horsepower rating is. That's what he was asking about the other model.
It does, we do not, yeah, we don't have that in there. It looks like we do not cover that at this
He
particular
said,
location.
no horsepower, yes. Kevin,
Yeah,
maybe
no,
I
we just have resistive in there is what we cover right now.
Someone is asking, we'll be able to, can we send out a copy of this presentation? Yes, we can. So we'll be sending a follow-up email to those who have attended, and we'll send that out probably 2 days from now. So that'll have a video as well as the PDFs of this presentation. Kevin said, thank you. Perry has a question. Do you plan on releasing any other wireless devices outside of InOcean? Maybe a BACnet thermostat in the future?
I can tell him this, that we are looking into another different protocol, I should say. It probably won't be InOcean for sure. We know that, but we're leaning towards Bluetooth, thinking about that, and we think that both building automation and our lighting division can actually use that. Plus, we're also working on our IP, BACnet over IP, so we should have that coming out here sometime this year.
Any other questions? Put those in the chat. I'm not seeing anything. I apologize if I missed anything. Perry said, great. Okay, wonderful.
Thank you, Harry.
That's, looks like we got it all, Dave.
Okay, I just jumped over onto the next slide, and I know folks signed up for the Weber Grill.
There's another
These
question.
things are neat, by the way, everybody. But definitely, we're gonna it'll be announced tomorrow on social media and contacted by email for sure. Please, down below it says if you did not register prior to the webinar and came directly from the webinar link, please be sure to include your contact information in today's chat. That way you can be included in this drawing. From there, I'd like to say thank you for your participation, and I enjoy, and please do enjoy our products. If you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to give us a call. We're just a phone call away. Thank you so much.